Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Challenger. We are here still at the Blizzard Arena, ready to hop into our next series, which is going to be a Zerg versus Terran. My name is Fear Dragon still, and I'm joined by In Control at the desk. How have you been the past couple of weeks?
Busy. A lot of StarCraft. We just had WCS Austin. I was about to be like, it's been great games, but honestly, it was just the last couple games that were pretty good. So I'm hoping we improve upon... Cyril's too good, and even the pro gamers are saying a little bit, actually. At Austin, even, I think it was Snoot, was like, he's too good. It's actually kind of making the game boring. It's not at that level, because it's exciting to watch him compete, and the semifinal and final made for really good games. But here, that wasn't a good series.
It's sort of also the unfortunate circumstance of how seeding works, where we say we would rather have Cyril have a really good opponent in the finals than have a really good opponent in kind of the early stages of a tournament and then go into the finals where he just kind of stomps over someone. So that's sort of seeding as well.
And he's just that good. I mean, to be fair, like there's just not that many people that can compete with him right now, and we're still looking for him.
Yep. All right, but one of these two players may be able to do something. HeroMarine and Stephano is going to be our next match. Following that up, it's going to be our losers match of Namshar versus whoever loses this series, and then Cyril versus the winner of this series.
Yeah, and poor Stephano, he actually tweeted out going into this WCS group saying, I cannot avoid Cyril. You were talking about seeding, so it's kind of tough for him. ZVZ, of course, his worst matchup, but he did get a little bit of the luck of the draw with getting HeroMarine, who's one of the best non-Korean Terrans, so that's where it's kind of like, But you were talking about this kind of heading into the studios. Stephano was able to beat HeroMarine at WCS Austin, I believe, so can he do it again?
Yep, it was a really recent result as well, so there's definitely a lot of potential here.
Yeah.
Stephano feels a lot more confident in his Zerg versus Terran. It's a ZVZ, which I know he was also not feeling great about. A ZVZ, oh, I just got a group with 3 Zergs. Awesome, like this is going to be horrendous. But this is the match he needs to win, I think.
Yeah, if he wins this one, like to your point, he then goes on and gets slaughtered by Cyril, but then has either Namshar or HeroMarine again, and that's, you gotta like those odds a little bit better. He can beat a Namshar, so he can get out of this group. It's possible.
Absolutely. Well, our first map is going to be Catalyst for this Zerg versus Terran. We're going to see how things go, see how these two players are feeling.
Look at Gabe, man. It's a handsome guy. I mean, they're both. We all know Stephano's a rock star, but it wasn't too long ago. Gabe's glasses were wider than most people's waistbands, and he was, you know, he was kind of the
was even more attractive
darling
than before.
Do you think so? Did that intensify?
If
you're into glasses, man, that's a whole thing. That's a thing. People are into glasses.
All right, spawning up here in the top left, we have our blue Terran player from Mouse Esports. It is HeroMarine.
Big Gabe, as he's called.
And spawning down here in the bottom right, we have the red Zerg player. It is Stephano. From Gamer's Origin.
Oh.
Do you like Stephano with the longer hair or the shorter hair now?
He does him, man. I'm good with both. The long hair was his, you know, rock star younger days. Now he's 25 years old. He's getting
Old
way
bogey.
up there. Yeah, you know, starting to feel a little bit more of the maturity. If I was gonna be a doctor someday, man.
Yeah, that's still a scary thought for me.
It's a horrifying thought.
Well, we'll see if he can do something in this series with surgical precision.
Oh my God.
I had to go there. So kind of fun stuff on TVZ is that I've been talking a lot with, like, especially at WCS Austin, I got to talk with a lot of the different Zerg and Terran players out there. And it's so funny because all of the Koreans, or a lot of the Koreans, really seem to love that 2-1-1 opening. You get out the 2 medevacs, the 16 Marines, you go across the map, you try and get some damage. We've seen it for years now. But foreign Terran players just do not like going for it. They just never seem to enjoy it. They always seem to stick with that 1-1-1 opening. So I almost kind of feel like HeroMarine's one of the players, though, that I could see still liking it, just because he seems to really love putting on that light pressure and doing that kind of rally across the map.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, I know where he's going to go mid and late game on this map. We saw HeroMarine actually in WCS Challenger Season 1, his game that he took off of Cyril, don't quote me on it, I believe it was, gosh, I know I'm getting confused with Austin, but I think it was this map. But even Austin, he had a really good fight with Cyril where it was like, it looked like it would take a hero effort to get over the fight, but that was, of course, what Cyril did. But HeroMarine likes to push down the middle of this map with Marine Tank. And like I said, I'm not helping you here, Ravi, unfortunately, because I don't remember the opening, but I do remember that big push comes at about the same time, and it's tough. If you cannot deal with it, you're in trouble. And it's kind of interesting because European players are very famous for how much they study these guys, but Stephano, I feel like, is one of the few European players that doesn't study almost at all. So I don't know if he knows that that's coming.
Okay, well, we'll see what HeroMarine decides to do. I agree. I think that there's going to be a really big potential. And I don't remember exactly what map it was, but I think that whole series of HeroMarine versus Serral had some really close games. So it wasn't even just that one game that we keep crediting him to. It's the other games as well that were really impressive. But I guess this is also going to be a really interesting point where we get to see, has Serral evolved to an even more ridiculous level than before, where he just stomps over someone like HeroMarine, or does HeroMarine kind of still show a bit of potential and potential upset here?
You know, it's interesting times, worth pointing out, because WCS Austin literally was so recent that for these guys, after traveling, getting home, and kind of decompressing, not a lot has changed, right? Like, we didn't get a new map pool. There's no new crazy meta coming out. We have had some GSL matches where some fun and interesting stuff has come out, but it's a different look at StarCraft, because going into Austin, we had months and months without a super major international StarCraft tournament, especially a WCS top. Leipzig was at the beginning of the year. But whereas this is so recent that for me, to go to your point, Ravi, I would say nothing, right? Like, they just kind of went home, got a little bit chill, and then they're probably going to show us exactly the same thing, which I hope that doesn't sound like hating or anti-hype. I'm not saying that. It's a different look at StarCraft. It's kind of like, okay, in that short amount of time, what adjustments can you make? Yeah,
I actually agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think the one thing that I would say, though, is that I think, at least talking with players, you always get to hear this from players that are sitting at the event and this stuff. They say, oh, I want to try that when I get home, or I want to do all that stuff. So I feel like you might see the small adjustments, but I'm absolutely with you. I think that the adjustments we're going to see are probably going to look to be a bit smaller.
Actually, I do agree with that. I think that fits nicely with exactly what I've heard as well, so I think you're right. But here, double Evo chamber going to be in melee upgrades for our Mr. Stephano. This Reaper is thinking about popping in there. He is going to do it, and he sees... Did he though? Did he see both of them? No! Just the one.
Yep, just a single evolution chamber spotted. He has only barely just seen, like, oh, there was a third base, and not a whole lot of information actually seen by HeroMarine so far, but he is going to be going for that big push out you were talking about before. He didn't go for the fast third CC, so he's going to get some scouting information one way or another.
Yeah, and I'm trying to channel my inner Rotterdam and remember if he had double eBay as part of the wall into. It's kind of fun seeing those adjustments. It's like a more hardy wall, but it's more exposed. And one of the things we're going to see from these, I'm telling you, we'll see it today, because it just looks so, I don't know, I don't want to call it easy per se, but it looked like a cheap win. We're also seeing a lot of just like straight up roach maxing at like 7.5 minutes and just attack. This map is okay for it, because to take that third, there is a huge wide open space. But that's just for later. It's not actually relevant at all for this match. And that Zergling will go down, sees some of the force here.
Okay, lair is finally coming on up.
It's a late lair.
Stephano. Yeah, it's a very late lair, and that
Old Stephano style.
Yeah, and that also allows him to get out a lot more units earlier on, so he's going to be much better situated to just absolutely crush this kind of push, which, as you said, third base is going to be not as important on this game, but if it's hard to take after this push, that makes it harder for the follow-up to happen. HeroMarine has to get more damage done to make it work.
Fully agree, Ravi. And it has to push this down really hard, by the way, because he's delayed a lot of tech for that.
That Sea-Shank is looking really vulnerable to all those queens.
Is it, though?
Yes. Yes.
No, here's the thing. Here's what it did. It tanked the queens for a while. The lings are gone. Here comes the Bioforce.
Okay.
And now all that is available is lings. He really needed banelings here. The queens, of course, not a great DPS, but if they can tank, it's a huge if. I don't see it happening. And here come the lings, but there's still Hellions in that composition.
Yeah, 1-1 finishes up after all of the lings are dead. Now, like you said, more lings are going to be coming on out. Some drones are going to sacrifice some lives to try and get some damage done. And HeroMarine, he is starting to bleed out a few units, but he's killed off so much of Stephano at this point that all the queens are gone.
This was a glimpse into the past, but it is just that, the past. I mean, now, Terran players have evolved to a point where if you just have queens and lings, you are gonna get bopped. You need those banelings, you need a spread, you need a concave. One of the things that makes Serral so good, and I'm sure people are sick of hearing about Serral, but I'm sorry, he is the benchmark for amazing. He's coming in from multiple angles. The fight was just at the top of that ramp. There's queens and lings up there. which meant that no concave, and HeroMarine can just kind of stim and win, and it looks so easy, but that's what happens when you take a bad fight.
GG, HeroMarine. Taking the first game.
They turn on.
For a second, you made me
the stage lights.
I was like, wait a second, is HeroMarine, is that unexpected? Did HeroMarine tap out? No. Yeah.
So, the studio is dialed to, we can both illuminate the casters, but also signal a UFO in the sky if we needed to. Unfortunately, that was not a super competitive game, and that's kind of one of the things that happens. Stephano in the ZVT matchup has been doing really, really well. It's one of his stronger matchups, and I don't necessarily think that he had the worst setup for it. It's just literally the multi-angles and banelings. You just need some number of banelings. Like, you don't, it doesn't need to be 12 of them connecting with the whole Bioforce. It has to be like 1 or 2, trimming it down a little bit, because Marines are really interesting. They fall off DPS-wise when their numbers get depleted, but when they're in mass like that and there's 6 medevacs or whatever it was floating over their head, that DPS is outrageous. They're going to kill.
And I mean, maybe the queens do survive for a really long time because they have transfusions and stuff, but if there's no lings to buffer them, or actually do any damage, then yeah, it does become a problem. So we end up seeing, I still feel like, I guess, HeroMarine looks to be in pretty good shape and pretty good form. So this is still setting up and looking like if he does take the 2-0 and he faces off versus Cyril, I actually do think that he's looking pretty good. Might actually stand a chance.
Against Cyril?
Against Cyril, maybe.
You know what? I'm jaded. So right now, you say chance, that's fine. I'm just hoping for good games. I just want good games because whoop, I fall over in the studio. No, right now we have a lot of like StarCraft by numbers almost. Even Austin is kind of painting this narrative of like there's just these 2 O's, 3 O's, like very simple. I got a lot of questions from people that are like, is that the meta right now? Do you think that's the balance?
Is it the meta to just dominate your opponent?
No, I mean, well. You need to get more serious, Ravi, okay? This is a serious point here. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing is, like, that's not what's happening. It's just that we're having a little bit of a string of kind of this happening. Some of the best games I've seen is in Legacy of the Void in recent. We just had a very close series of the GSL last night. I won't spoil it because there's someone like throwing their coffee on their laptop right now. But buckle in. We got a long day of StarCraft, and there will be good series.
Okay. Our next match is going to be, or next map, I should say, is going to be on Dreamcatcher, it looks like. And this is one of the newer maps in the map pool for this season. We saw it a bit at WCS Austin, but I really want to see what this match is going to play out as, because I don't think I've seen too many ZVTs from Europe on this particular map. I know they've definitely been played, but I have not been able to personally witness that many.
Yeah, it's fun. It's one of the, and this has been just a true testament to the map pool. It's one of the better gold-based maps. Anytime you don't see the ridiculous, like, your second hatch or you float a CC over to the gold, then you know that it's been used fairly well. It's a nice reward base, but it should also be a huge risk. That's kind of how it should function. This map does a good job of that, but outside of the gold base, it's also a fairly small map, whereas the pathing down the middle of the map is very narrow, but you can knock down rocks. And there's some really severe choke points. So I like the balance between, it's not the biggest of maps, but you can kind of manipulate the pathing, I guess.
All right, well, we're going to be starting up in the top left on top of the red Zerg player from Gamers Origin. It is Stephano. And his opponent spawning down in the bottom right, we have our blue Terran player from Mouse Esports. It is HeroMarine, setting up 1-0.
Is Stephano still sponsored by Meltdown on any level? I don't know.
Why would you do this to me?
Well,
why would you put me on the
spot to you. I was just wondering. Gamers Origin.
I'm actually trying to remember. So I know he's been on Gamers Origin for a good bit, like 5 or 6 months at least.
How about that name, by the way? Gamers Origin? Are they sponsored by Origin? Because otherwise, that's a bit of a claim, Ravi.
I don't know if they're sponsored by Origin, but maybe it's just their go-to platform.
Oh my God, you win. You win today. Your dad jokes like make my soul shrivel up inside.
I've been working on them. This is all I've been working on.
That's good.
I saw all the Reddit threads. I was like, you know what? I need to dial it up.
Double down on that?
Double down.
Because there is a fan base of people that do like dad jokes, and you are their savior right now.
Oh, I daily visit the dad joke subreddit.
Yeah. That's one of the styles of humor that I'll employ. Oh, that's such a bad joke. It's funny. I'll be like, thanks. But then someone will say it. I'll be like, I'm like, I see. This is what I'm doing to people. Here comes the SCV Scout. To make a prediction, by the way, because this is kind of the fun back and forth right now. We're seeing a lot of diversity from Terran players. We're seeing Mech from guys that typically don't mech. We're seeing a lot of different kinds of bio. It's a really fun time for build diversity. But on this map, does it scream mech to me? It really doesn't. You can take a third and fourth. They're fairly close, but there's a lot of attack points into them. It's not like it's the worst map for mech. I just don't think it necessarily says, go mech, you can do it here. Because I think there's a lot of counterattack angles.
Oh, 100%. I think some of my favorite games have actually happened on this map in this map pool, just because when you take your third and your fourth, once you've taken your fourth base, like you said, there just become so many different angles you can get attacked from, and it becomes really difficult. It becomes really, really strange to try and see how are you going to be able to defend all these bases perfectly every single time.
Yeah, it gets hectic, which whoa, oh, wow, that SCV, we kind of, there's a lot going on. Yeah. And we are observing ourselves, by the way, guys, in case anyone's complaining. But that was that's actually a big deal. That SCV blocking the third hatch, and now the Reaper finding the second attempt at a third base.
Oh, the SCV even stays alive. This is actually amazing.
That's huge. I mean, the third hatch does go down, but it's delayed by a lot. It took another drone going out there, so not the end of the world. We don't look at this and go, oh, Stephano's on the brink of destruction. It's nothing like that, but it's not good, and it's some nice movement here from HeroMarine. Yeah,
and a lot of this is because there was never that moment where Ling Speed finishes up, and suddenly the Lings can just chase down the Reaper.
The gas finished, Nick. Did he finish?
No, he canceled it, yeah. But yeah, the Reaper can just kind of stick around for a good bit longer than it normally otherwise would, and even a Queen having to come all the way out over here, and drone, okay.
Operation save that drone. But look at HeroMarine. Oh my gosh.
This is brutal.
There is, I'll tell you what, StarCraft players don't give a damn, okay? Like, look, he made 3 geysers to try and save that. He brought out the Queen, he brought out the Lings, just to save that drone, and HeroMarine dives in and just kills it. Man. So funny. But now the triple queens, and as you point out, Ruby, the speed does finish. It's a little bit delayed, which is unfortunate. And I think HeroMarine did everything he could to make that painful, but it has finished.
Yep, a Raven also on the way. I think that's a first Raven on the way still. So with that and the tech lab on the Bears, you can start getting up stim. You can go into that pretty traditional bio style that I think HeroMarine is pretty good at.
Pretty good, I would agree.
Okay. How do you feel about the Raven opening versus the Banshee? Because I actually want to double check. Did Stephano even, no, he hasn't scouted anything so far.
It's kind of Stephano's thing. He's always been famous for not really scouting there. It's the second Raven coming out here as well. I think they both have merits, and that's what's kind of cool about the balance of Terran right now. The Banshee, of course, I heard DeMuslin break this down on his stream, talks about, you know, if you're getting some kind of weird early pressure, you can shut that down. If you somehow do delay a third and can kill a couple of creep tumors, all of a sudden the Banshee itself becomes a threat. In main, it can harass drones. But I really like the Raven too. I mean, that anti-armor missile is just absolutely incredible. It's kind of funny how they slightly nerfed it in a lot of Terrans. You would think the Raven just died on its face. But I still feel like it's so powerful.
Oh yeah, I think it's taking a little while, but Terrans are realizing, oh, you know, actually, I still do a lot of damage after this.
You know what? Gigantic auto-hitting AoE that removes armor is pretty good.
Go figure.
Love this, too. I mean, look at this. So it's not scoring a whole lot of kills, but the Lings can't get in there. Gets 7 creep tumors, which, again, is that necessarily the biggest of deals? No, especially with Stephano's opening. So he's kind of delayed a lot of his tech in the name of having more queens, but it's still nice. But still.
Yep. And actually, if you look at this, in a lot of ways, this looks like a very similar opening to the last game from Stephano, where he gets up those 1-1 upgrades pretty quick. He delays that lair until almost 6 minutes. But this game is just, again, it's a less aggression coming out from HeroMarine. It's just more pointed harassment potential.
A little bit more harassment, but also a faster third. And it's kind of funny because it is always that, you know, question that a StarCraft player has. But had HeroMarine just been doing the exact same thing, I think Stephano would be in a lot of trouble. His Baneling Nest is really late. It just now gets started. Now, of course, as we can see everything, that's going to be fine for the most part. But man, Stephano's style gives me...
Oh, okay. The Queens and the Lings are slightly out of position, so the Hellions all get straight into the natural mineral line. They're trying to get into a nice position where they can't be that much surface area from the Lings, but actually gets really quickly surrounded and picked off.
You know, this is kind of a funny thing, and I'm going to say this as the armchair quarterback here, guys. I could very well be wrong, but the better target there was the Lings coming up the ramp, and it's hard because in your mind you're going after the drones no matter what, but just that angle and the amount of Lings that we're pursuing, you're always going to get off 1, maybe 2 shots off at the drones, and as we saw, I think it was 4 from the Hellions, and it was a nice distraction for 3 more to die from the Ravens, but had he gone for the Lings, he might have been able to kill a lot of Lings.
Oh boy. Well, third base is going to be coming on down as a lot of the Marines just load up into the medevacs. The Lings, oh boy, they're going to find the supply depot down, and this is what Stephano really needed after losing. Well, actually, sorry, this is not what HeroMarine needed. HeroMarine was the one that just lost all those Hellions, and now he's losing a bunch of these tanks.
It's just going to get a little bit worse. That drone, or that tank, excuse me. Okay, we're going to flip out dramatically.
Yep.
Robbie he just couldn't bear to watch it, but so much damage.
Too much. But the transfuses from the Queens doing a really nice job holding on. Stephano focusing his micro on these Queens, and it's starting to pay off because now he should be able to deal with the Marine drop. He's been able to kill off 20 workers. He's killing off more with this one Ling. How many kills this Ling has? 4 worker kills. That's amazing.
Get that guy a promotion. Make him into something bigger.
All right, auto short harassment happening over by the third base. It is going to get cleaned up. Stephano is murdering HeroMarine on every front and defending on every other front. This is really well played by Stephano.
Well, it was kicked off by the huge mistake of having the depots down, and something that happens to every Terran player. So you got to point it out because that's our job. But man, it's harder than it looks. It's like, why is it just raised? Well, then you can't rally your stuff out of there. So you there is a reason to have it down. But HeroMarine's going to push forward. Now there are Banelings being added to the mix. Speed not yet finished, but this creep spread's so good that for the most part they'll be engaging here.
Yep, and Stephano just trying to buy some time for those Banelings. As you said, a couple of them finishing up. But if HeroMarine engages on creep, this is going to get a little weird. Baneling speed is still pretty far away.
It's far away, and the Banelings are just by themselves, so they're getting picked off in the back here.
Okay,
and Stephano just kind of dies.
Oh my god, he just denied Baneling speed. This is a little bit, looks silly,
he's dead. He's actually super dead. He keeps trying to make Banelings, and the Marines just keep finding them. They're over on the right now. He's going to make those into Banelings, but guess what? Too late. Third and fourth is dead. GG's called. Stephano gets 2-0'd. And now we spent a whole bunch of time being like, this is a great group for him to make it out. Not today, says HeroMarine. And to your point, we're seeing two Titans kind of lining each other up. HeroMarine looked great here. Suffered some big losses off of a mistake, but just the composition of Stephano was... It's weird too, because I'm hearing myself being that guy in the chat where like you go Storm and like, why didn't you go Colossus? This is kind of that moment for Stephano, but just not having Banelings against HeroMarine is just not gonna cut it. He took a couple of fights, but then that Bioforce just shows up at just that certain tipping point number, and it doesn't matter anymore. Your Queens are doing 0 damage, and any Lings that show up just evaporate.
And like you said, it's not being able to keep those Banelings alive as well, them being slightly out of position.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow you to buy the time to get more Banelings or just get more Lings or anything else. It just allows those Marines to just push forward kind of fearlessly. So we end up seeing Stephano getting knocked down to that losers match. He's going to face off versus Namshar now. And man, this is where I go back to that whole thing about Stephano and ZVZ. This is not where he really wants to be.
Well, here's how good of a host you are, Rob, because you laid the groundwork for this. If he can beat Namshar, and that is the Zerg that he has the best chance against, then he goes up against probably HeroMarine, right? Unless HeroMarine pulls off something incredible. Well, you had earlier talked about needing to make adjustments in a short amount of time. Stephano went with the same build twice, and it did not work at all. Even in a game where he gets massive damage done, he just easily dies to the composition. He's got to change it up. So that's for later. That's if he gets past Namshar, but keep that story in your mind.
All right, we'll see you guys in a little bit with Namshar versus Stephano in that losers match.
This poor town has seen its share.